Derek,
Here.
Katie,
Here.
Steven, here. Greg, absent. Wayne.
Here. All right, moving on to item 2, business items. Part A, discuss superintendent search process with Oklahoma State School Boards Association representatives.
All right, very good. Well, first off, I just want to say again, thanks so much. We are already just enjoying working with you so much. We have the application period is open, and we are actively accepting applications. Your application pool is looking really great. I emailed you all this morning, so anytime you're going to get an email from me, it'll say board members, and when it says that, you know you're all going to be blind copied. Okay, so just know that that's happened. So I sent an information to you today about how to get your account set up to access the applications, and then I've also included a rubric there for you to start reviewing and ranking them. And if you choose to do that in a different manner, that's fine. This is just a tool, a starting place for you to start thinking about qualities and characteristics within those groups that you want to look at. I'm gonna plead with you with all of my heart and soul, and all of our hearts and soul at OSSBA to maintain the confidentiality of your applicant names. I just really cannot impress upon you the importance of that. You are going to, this is a high profile position. You are going to have sitting superintendents that are interested in this position, and you all essentially kind of control their future and their relationship with their current district and board in your hands. You know, if their names are to be leaked and they weren't able to be pursued in this area, and they were still, you know, working where they were, that could really cause a hardship for them. So please just keep that in mind as we work through the process. Survey numbers are looking really good. We've got over 250 responses so far, and I expect that number to increase after we finish with today. So we'll just remind everybody, Annie and I, that'll be a big part of what we do today as we go through this session today, is just give everyone the same information. So we're going to talk to all of your folks about the process, what our role is in the process, where we are in the timeline, and then when they can expect to see some other things happening in regard to kind of what does it look like while we're working with the applicants through this process. What does this look like with the information we're going to collect from you all and from them today, and then really what that timeline looks like when it gets down to crunch time, when we start doing the application review and those sort of things. And then the main thing we're here for today is to collect information from all of you. We really, again, are going to have kind of the same theme throughout the day for all of your stakeholders, including you all, and we just want to know, you know, what are the great things that are happening here? You know, what are the things that are important, that are established, that need to continue to be improved upon? And then what are your growth areas? You know, what are the things that you see? It could be, you know, common kind of things you're just seeing come up, or maybe it's some trends and some habits and things that you're starting to see that you're thinking, you know what, we need to kind of pay attention a little bit more to this so that we can make sure that we're prepared for things when they happen. And then the final thing we're going to discuss will be just knowing these things about your district and really getting those words out in the space. You know, what does this person need to look like? I mean, what are the qualities and characteristics you need? Number one, for this person to be successful in your district. And by that person being successful, you all will be successful, which means you're going to have your student success. So, you know, that's ultimately what we're going for. So before we kind of get started, Annie's going to take some notes and chime in and ask questions and do follow-ups as we go, just to make sure that we're capturing all of your information. I want to be sensitive to your time. Do you all have questions for me, just kind of about, again, the search process, kind of where we are and what's happening next?
What is the deadline? When's our last day that we're accepting applications?
Ask you that. Next, 25th. No, hang on. The Friday before Memorial Day.
So what is that, the 26th?
26th. And so while we're on that, let me ask you this, while we're looking at our calendar. So we are closing the search on the 26th. The survey closes on the 24th, so your folks will have a little bit more time this week and next to participate in the survey if they choose to. And then what really kind of the final details, and we can talk about this now, or I can work through whomever you coordinate with in the central office. But a couple things we need to do about going forward are, you know, the time, right now I have us booked for May 30th for the application review.
May what?
May 30th, so that's the Tuesday after Memorial Day. And then, excuse me, so we need a time set for that. And then we really need to kind of start thinking about the interviews and what those are gonna look like. So the way this will work is on May 30th, we'll have that application review. Part of your assignment that I gave to you today in your email is, I want you to come to the table with like your 3 to 5 names of folks that, based on paper, right, based on our conversations, based on the survey information, based on the stakeholder feedback, I'm gonna give you on paper which of those folks look like they're meeting those criterias and the things you all have said is gonna be important. So come to the table with those 3 to 5 names, and we'll work through a process. And the goal at the end of that is for all 5 of you to be in agreement on whom you're gonna move forward to the interview process. Pretty much from there, it's just the next couple of weeks, you know, so it's like we do the app review on the 30th, gives me a week to get everybody set and scheduled. The week of June 5th, I have June 5th held. No, wait a minute. I just actually have that week held. I needed to talk to you about that, on what that looks like for that week of June 5th for round 1 interviews. And then we would have round 2 interviews the week of June 12th. So I really feel like you all would be in a position, and again, kind of, you know, if it's the front of the week versus the end of the week, that's gonna depend on when you can kind of get through your negotiations and get your hiring done, but I'm thinking that you should be there by the week of the 19th. Easily.
The week of the 19th for,
Hiring.
okay.
Mhm. So one thing is, kind of that we have on our calendar that are radars for us, will be, one thing will be, do you all have the flexibility that we can do those interviews during the day? Because otherwise that's gonna be multiple nights, which that's much different than trying to get them all knocked out of the day. And if the answer is yes, maybe not.
The answer is yes for me.
Possibly.
Okay,
I'll have to check.
okay,
Yeah, I can
some
make during the
flexibility.
day work.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we can check with Greg as well.
Okay, perfect. So that's one thing we need to know, is just your availability of that during the day. And the second thing will be is we just need to think about location. Again, we want to maintain the anonymity of the candidates. And part of what will help us if we do this during the day is oftentimes we will host interviews at OSSBA. We have a pretty good setup for that. But you all might feel like you have some locations here, especially with school being out, that you could do that here too. We just need to be thinking about just kind of what that process looks like. You know, one of our OSSBA staff will be on hand to greet those people, to greet that candidate. We'll want kind of a holding room, so to speak, and then an interview room. So, you know, our idea is just we're kind of moving them in a circle in and out without them bumping into each other. So that's kind of the last little pieces of decisions that we need to kind of have in place. So I'll probably go ahead and Lane, and communicate with you
Okay.
early next week, and you can start getting that ball rolling to figure out
Okay.
what that's gonna look like, okay?
Perfect.
For what we're going over today and then the community meeting tonight, when are the other 3 meetings? Are they today also?
Today.
Okay, so everything's today.
Everything's today.
And then, because before we start ranking the applicants, like how long should we expect for that information to be given to us?
I think we'll definitely be able to have it to you by the end of the week or the first part of the next week. Yeah.
Should we start ranking applicants before we have all the applications in?
Yes. because you don't have, you kind of just have that weekend of Memorial Day. So yeah, I think you would definitely want to go start looking at them. There will be some that are clearly not qualified. And so just go ahead and get those knocked out. I mean, there just will be.
Right.
It's just the nature of the system. So, yeah. So I think you could at least make a good solid one cut, maybe a little bit more even just based on the experience or perhaps the size of the schools. Or, you know, the responses to, Lane provided me with a couple of application statements that we've included in the materials. So there's 2 narrative responses that we've asked for their experience in investing and becoming part of the community, right? What does that strategy look like? And I think the other lane was at bonds and finance.
Yeah, and growth.
And
Centered
growth.
around growth.
Right. So a couple of questions that he felt like really embodied the things that you all have been talking about for a while. So I think that will be a really good indication, that narrative response, to give you some ideas of what types of experience those people have had. So, good questions. Anything else?
I didn't have my calendar pulled up when we were talking about the due dates of the applicants, but the Friday before Memorial Day is the
26th.
26th. Okay, and then the surveys are due back by the 24th. Okay.
Yeah, and in the email from this morning is that link, it's
Okay.
the timeline
Yeah.
link and all of that. So,
And you said we already got 250 surveys.
uh-huh.
That's pretty impressive.
I think so too. When are you all out of school? You out of school this week though?
This week, yeah.
Aren't you?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it may really slow down. We may not get anything from there, but we'll see.
And one of the questions I did get from somebody in the community was they were concerned about the forums being this week. And I said, well, you know, and my response was, if we wait till school's out, that participation is going to be much lower,
Right.
much
Right.
lower.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I know it's a hardship when it gets to be this time of year. I mean, we just have to kind of take what we can get.
Right.
You know, I share my email, we share all of our information, so if there's people that can't be there, you know, we're certainly gonna encourage them, you know, we wanna hear their voice. And so, you know, if the survey is one way, you know, the forums is another, and if that doesn't work, they can just email us their thoughts.
Can we forward you the emails that we've gotten?
Sure.
With people's thoughts that are
Okay.
telling us they can't make
yes.
it? Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely, we'll just add it to the data. So what you'll receive from today is you're gonna receive just a summary of your thoughts today, from the notes that we take, and then we'll do a compilation of all the other groups. And so when we finish, I think at 1:15, we're meeting with all your administrators. 3:15, all secondary staff, certified and non. 4:15, elementary, certified and non, and then 5:30, community at large.
Okay.
Is that correct, Andy? Thanks. And so, you know, really what we'll do is we're gonna collect the information through an app, you know, so there'll be times, it'll be opportunities for people that want to speak anonymously, they may. So they'll be able to input their information through an anonymous system. And then the other part is we'll just have some conversations, and Annie will kind of capture that as we're having those conversations. And so at the end of today, you know, we'll theme and code all of that information, and we're just gonna give you those high points. You know, these are the strengths, these are the growth areas that are common that we heard, and these are those common qualities and characteristics. So really just kind of boil it down to the important information.
if you don't mind, just sharing with him because I know we talked about it briefly, about our lack of presence at the
True.
afternoon forums is by design, so that way people feel they can speak
Yes.
freely.
Yes, yes.
Without, you know, and then for community, if we're there in the community forum, to not obviously be together and,
Right.
and we can't engage the community in those
Correct.
conversations as well.
Correct. So, we prefer that you not attend the staff forums. It just makes for a different type of space, for people to be able to talk freely. And then the 5:30, the community forum, that is entirely up to you. I mean, you all know your community. If you feel like that you need to be there and they would appreciate that, then absolutely. But like Lane said, that it would not be a special meeting. You all need to be spread out throughout the room. conversations before, during, or after, including the parking lot, at the end of the day. If you choose not to come, that is completely acceptable too, and in fact, that's probably more common, is to have board members not there. Again, just to make people feel like they may have a little bit safer space, to have some conversations that they may not feel comfortable if other folks are in the room. But again, that really is completely your decision. You all know your community and you need to do what you feel is right. It will be helpful if you make that decision not to attend, just let me know, because I'll provide an explanation to the group, all the groups, really, about why you're not there. Questions about that?
My main question about the community one is just, because I opened the survey just so I could see, what the questions were. Is it more open-ended than that? Like,
Yes.
is it more of a
Yes.
invite you
Yes.
to speak and
Yes.
say things? Okay.
Around those same three big topics.
Right.
Right, your strengths, your growth areas. We're really looking forward. That's part of the thing, that's part of the stage I set at the beginning of the meetings is, this is here, this is here.
Right.
And this is our only purpose tonight, is to look forward.
Some of
We
those
can't resolve
questions-
this.
Some of those questions really help gravitate towards that, and, once you start having a conversation of student success and district success, then there's no room for negativity there.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
about opportunities, not
Yeah.
what has been
And moving
wrong in
forward.
the past, but
Yeah.
opportunities to be better.
And in the survey, the option for text and survey is by design, because everything's open
Yep.
record.
Right.
And we just don't have the staff to go through and redact, and we end up with names, we end up with ugly things said about people in the district, and it's just not conducive to the direction we're trying to go. So that's the explanation. There's not an open comment box on the surveys.
But during the communication this
Oh, yeah.
evening, obviously you all will be
On topic.
directing.
On topic.
But
Keep it germane, and we'll talk
I don't
about it.
also want to silence the community who
Absolutely.
comes.
Right.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of times that Stephanie or I will get emails even after
Mhm.
the forum, because we give our information, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh, this is one more great thing
Oh, and
that
by
we
the
really
way,
do.
I
Oh, by
forgot
the way,
about
this
this.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the crazy emails that you're just like,
So, good questions. All right, anything else?
Any questions on the process?
Okay, all good with the timeline? All right, so let's talk about where we're going. I mean, talk to us about the things, the good, strong things that are happening in Piedmont. Why are you here? Why are you committed? Who's alum? You're an alum?
No, you're not.
No.
You're not alum, but longtime
two
resident.
of you guys are?
Just, I'm not.
I'm not.
That's me.
Okay, okay.
None of us.
So when did you graduate?
94,
Okay. Born and raised, lived here,
kindergarten
kids go
through
here?
12th.
That's awesome.
Yeah, nice.
That's nice, very invested, I like that.
So my husband and his dad graduated, my
Okay.
husband graduated, and then our kids.
Okay.
So we're
So you
third,
have a-
third
you do have a
generation.
connection
Yes,
there
we
then.
have a strong
Good,
connection.
and you
but-
came for a position, a job?
10 years ago, almost to the week.
We moved here because of the small town,
Okay.
the schools.
Okay.
When I taught and coached in Marlow, I fell in love with the small town community,
Mhm,
how everybody,
mhm.
engages with everybody,
Mhm.
and we decided this was the place for us.
Nice,
And so
Nice.
to raise our boys and,
that's great.
yeah.
So, small town atmosphere, supportive community,
Yeah, very supportive. I mean,
Alumni.
great teachers,
okay?
great staff. I felt like I got a good education here. Teachers never
prepared.
gave up on me. I probably wasn't the best kid. They never gave up on me, and now I sit
So
on the-
surely they can do it with
sit on the
everybody
board,
else,
so-
right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I figured if they could get me through, they could get my
Handle you,
kids
They
through.
can handle anybody, I like it.
We brought our family back because it's a safe place. I mean, safe
Right.
is a strong word for me. I feel my kids are safe in
Absolutely.
the schools, safe in the community. It's very,
Physically safe,
just in general, yeah.
emotionally
Um,
safe,
I
mentally
mean,
safe.
unless you're on the board, may not be as.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's ultimately why we came back from larger districts to here, even though we're growing and seeing,
Right.
it's
Right,
just,
what else?
I graduated from Putnam City, so I grew up in the big schools
Mhm.
in northwest Oklahoma City. Always had friends out here in Piedmont.
Uh-huh.
Always was jealous of them, of knowing everybody in our schools and all that. And so that's another reason why
Okay.
we moved out here is just the community. I mean, the community it's awesome.
Okay. So what, you talk about being a supportive community, what types of partnerships and things do you recognize that are supportive?
I mean, all of our small business owners, you know, the chamber, like the members, everybody, whether their kids are still in school or not, or whether they live in a different district or not, are highly involved. They're highly attentive to the needs of like, how can we help? How can we be involved? How can we support? Where can we meet you at? I feel like the whole community is ready to step up.
Right.
If we express a need as a district or, you know, whoever. So
Good,
I feel like we're attentive to
to those things.
what's
Yeah.
going on.
And I think the community is like that just with every form of activity, whether it's school related or Little League or, you know, anything that the community, if it has any ties to Piedmont, the community is very supportive of
Go
it.
step forward.
And one thing that's been unique about Piedmont, and it's very difficult to sustain in today's climate for whatever reason, you know, some of the things that our students have been able to participate in, and I'll just use Duck Week as an example. I know Edmond has Swine Week and Edmond North, and then Edmond, you know, Balto or whatever, you know. So
Right.
we've got Duck Week. Are some of the things that I don't necessarily think our staff and kids would be able to do in some other school districts, especially as they grow. They're able to do, and we've been able to do that. And our kids feel have felt very connected to the school.
Okay.
Some of that has naturally gone away because of COVID. Some of it's gone away because we've grown. And I think for me, having the ability to do that rather than have to pack your family up and move them to Cashin or Okarche or somewhere else where you still get that, we've been able to do that here.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that's, for me, just as a parent, not even speaking as a former employee here, I'm just saying that you know, the homecoming bonfire was a big deal. Even my stepson didn't play football after his freshman year, but that was still a cool thing
For him to
for
attend.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
So it sounds like you all feel like you're developing good citizens, right? You're developing students that understand the value of Piedmont and living here and kind of your traditions and your pride. Is that fair to say? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So what else? I mean, what else do you think that are your strengths? Let's just talk academics and programs, right? What are some great programs you feel like you have going on that are really making a difference?
I love the aeronautics program that we have through, is that with
Yeah.
CV Tech or?
is that through Canadian Valley? Is that right? Anybody?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's through Sundance.
Sundance.
Yeah, through
Okay.
Sundance. So
Okay.
we actually, and you talk about reaching out to or input from the community. We had I think one of the person who kind of spearheaded that was Lindsay Wilson. A parent brought that, really pushed it our direction, and then we had some. We've had staff here that have run with it
Awesome.
and pushed these kids because we've got the kids for it.
That's
I mean,
great.
we
So what grades is that?
It's high school, isn't it? And then they can graduate with their
9 through
private pilot's license.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's an
it's-
amazing program.
you say it was?
It's 9 through 12, isn't it?
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that they can graduate high school with their
Right
private,
now, it's just ninth graders right now.
Just 9?
It's
like a
program.
Got it, and it's 4-year program through. Okay, awesome.
yeah.
Well, I think one of the things, and I'll just speak from my lens as a principal, and one of the things that we really, a conversation that needs to continue, and I don't want to use the pandemic as an excuse, but that was a barrier for lots of
Certainly.
things. Giving our kids the opportunity. I know Stephen's daughter attended Canadian Valley and absolutely excelled there. But not just those programs, but to be able to bring things onto our campus. You know, I was in Medill last week and I saw their STEM lab. I've never seen anything like it in any school I've ever been in. They have flight simulators in there. It is absolutely incredible. The things that keep their kids on campus, and if we don't have that, having access to those programs at Canadian Valley and just being able to offer everything that we need our kids to have.
Right.
And just to have that vision and see that, okay, you know, we may not have this, but how can we get this?
Right,
Right.
right. So I'm gonna break this up just a teeny bit, make sure we have it all captured. So you feel really strongly about the, you know, the expansion opportunities, you know, the extracurricular opportunities you're afforded here. You have some on campus through the Sundance Aeronautics. You have a strong relationship with Canadian Valley. Growth areas would be, how do we really enrich that further?
How do people come to us and say, how do we get what
Right.
you got?
Right.
Right.
So you want to be that model. You want to be that example of.
I do. Just
We have,
absolutely.
we have enrichment opportunities for all of our students. You know, I think maybe the next thing I might, not necessarily challenge you on, but for you to look up and have the data on is how many of your kids are participating, right? What is that percentage and who is not? And then what do they need, right? You know, so that's that growth area, is identifying those students that don't fit into some of those traditional pathways you have. You know, what can you do to serve them?
I think we made great strides this year because we added the esports, which was a segment that
Yes.
maybe didn't fall into sports, and then we added FFA, which is a great segment that
Perfect.
encapsulated some
Perfect.
other student body, and then we
Yeah.
added the aviation.
Yeah.
So I would love to see us, because I came from Putnam City as well, so I had every opportunity. So I
Right.
think as much as sometimes the growth is hard,
Right.
that's the positive to growth, is that we
Right.
get to bring in so much
Right.
more for our students and so
Right.
many more opportunities.
Right.
As many board meetings I attend, it's so great to see the esports, because the kids that come in for those board recognitions are kids that are never, I mean, and they are just so.
May not ever done that before.
Never, you know, and it's so just opening to include so many other kids that are, you know, for one, staying on campus, not going home.
Right.
And doing things that probably, that they would not need to do, or they don't have a home life.
Mhm.
And so, absolutely, and STEM labs, if you're going back to Oak City, you need to go see what Jeff Doherty's done at Merritt.
Yeah.
That STEM lab is like legit, so I know you
Okay.
probably.
No, I know Jeff.
Yeah, well, my brother said you were a seventh grade baseball coach.
Okay.
So.
State champion esports, right?
Oh my
It's all
gosh.
connected.
That's all.
Didn't our esports team win the state championship?
Yeah,
I
that's
think so.
I
exciting.
think they
Been in
did.
a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
doing fantastic.
that's really
in a lot of
exciting.
Activities
So,
this year.
so let me ask you this then. How far down do those opportunities extend? Do you feel like you have, similar opportunities or as many opportunities for your middle school students to be engaged in extracurricular clubs and organizations? And then what about your elementary students? Is that a growth area, do you think?
I
I think it's a
it could
growth
be,
area,
yeah.
absolutely.
All through middle school even?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So right now, your high school is really.
More robust,
flourishing and
maybe.
more-
I mean, bringing in FFA, we started that down in 8th grade,
Good.
so it offered
Good.
a new opportunity for
Okay.
middle school.
Okay.
I know that
Good,
just my child's age particularly, as she goes into middle school, there's
sure.
opportunities
That's
that
great.
we'd love to see, but.
And then just straight, so out of the realm of the extracurriculars and the enrichment, student achievement, overall student achievement, how are you feeling about that?
Just my observation as both a parent and a former administrator here, I feel like, you know, and I don't want to by any means make the classroom strictly about testing, because that's a fraction of it, but it's a very important fraction of it.
Mhm.
I think that really looking at ACT, how we can enhance ACT and SAT,
Okay.
and whether we like we can have our opinions
Right.
on College Board. I mean,
Right.
take that out of the equation. The bottom line is,
You need a
for
metric.
many of our students, that is the
Yeah.
difference between being in debt
Mhm.
when they leave college or
Mhm.
getting everything paid for.
Mhm.
And anything we can do to support that, and I do even use stronger language than that, not just support it, but to absolutely push it
Mhm.
to where we're giving those students opportunities
Okay.
to do well. I think that is, for me, that's really important for me. And I've got a stepson who, he only wants to take the ACT one time, and he doesn't, we had to force him to take it a second time. I've got a daughter who will probably, if we push her, she could probably do well on it. And so what opportunities do we have that are not outside of the school?
Okay,
So.
okay, good. To
and-
really do some preparation and.
Yeah, and not even,
And just maybe a sense of understanding the importance of that,
For sure.
what it could do for them long-term. I think that's something that we gloss over, I think a lot of times we push the kids without really helping them understand long range, what that can do for them.
Well, it's such a tough topic, and so what I kind of wrote down was, there's growth areas in college and career readiness, and that includes financial, student loans, all of those things that go in. And it's tough because, especially they say our frontal lobes have not even developed till 24, 25, and at 18, 19, there's such, especially boys,
Right.
Yeah.
such a huge difference. And so watching them go out as good kids thinking they're gonna be successful and coming back being, I was not ready for this,
Right.
is a hard thing
For sure.
for a person that works in the school district, because you
Yeah.
thought they were ready.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is that college and career readiness, anything
Yeah.
to add to that?
And I think even having something more for the parents, having one senior that graduated, I didn't know all of the opportunities that were out there for us to apply for,
Okay.
things to do, that may have been conveyed to my student,
Right.
but
Right.
Didn't
the
make it to
student
your
didn't
ears.
convey it to me,
Sure.
and we
Right.
learned after the fact, so I'm hoping that we picked up some of the slack with the second one. Hopefully, we'll definitely have it all
Right.
lined out by the third, but it would be nice for the parents to have, maybe a little more communication to the parents so they know exactly what's out there.
Yeah, good point,
I
really good
think
point.
the other, on the other side of that, and not just focus on, an advanced degree path, but to really, we mentioned, CBTC, but I really feel like, and I've had this conversation with parents in my office before, we are doing a disservice to kids to say, you really need to focus on college.
Right.
Correct.
And to have somebody with that mindset of understanding that, to
Okay.
put the systems in place to where we approach that population, because I don't know what that population looks like in our school. But when we're talking about the college-bound track, obviously we want to support that, but we have to equally support and be front runners,
In the career pathway.
yes, to
Yes, yes.
kids to.
And there's so much more data coming out right now about finishing a career pathway and being successful with not the student debt. So, I think as a society, I kind of think our paradigm is starting to shift towards valuing,
Right.
the career pathway as much, if not more than oftentimes the college pathway.
A lot of schools will, that's kind of their focus, and we've talked with them, is, the new board member incumbent workshop is, we need to send more kids to our career techs.
Mhm.
Like, we need, even if they're college bound, like for my son, I'm like, you can either take concurrent or you're gonna go to a career tech. We're not gonna sit and take drama. We're not gonna sit, and those are opportunities, because some of these kids don't know what they're gonna be doing, but if they can cut hair while they're in college, it's a lot better than what I did during college. So there's those opportunities that, so we've seen a lot of school districts really say, we've got to put so much more emphasis, because this is kids that are going to go right out into the
Right.
workforce,
Right,
have a somewhat degree and license,
Yeah.
and be able to make more money than
yeah,
most of the board members do.
I think the
That's
district
great.
has put together a great plan for that, because I know they've presented it
Sure.
since I've been on the
Well,
board, so I think getting
Yeah.
just
ICAP is kind of forcing us to do that a little
knowledge
bit.
of
Right.
what we've got and
Right.
kind of making that a
Well, just
cool
maybe take that next step,
focus.
right, and just maybe take that next step of, we're starting to get those processes in place, let's communicate that out.
And what do our facilities need to look like for that? Because
Yeah.
once you
Right.
get that, obviously, you can't just,
Right,
you've got to have a
right,
facility, so
Right.
there's,
absolutely.
and that's gonna be a challenge
Right.
with
And
our
there's been
growth.
shame in not going to college with students.
Yeah, no,
They feel,
no, yeah, and
feel like that's
Mhm.
what they're supposed to do. And-
right, so, yeah, it is, it's just changing that paradigm. And I think the facility conversation is really important too. That's, You know,
Huge.
it's just the way that we should just try and pass those bonds and throw up a new elementary school, that
Right.
the learning space needs to match your vision for
Yes.
learning. And, you know, those are much, much deeper conversations
Yeah.
to have along the way.
And I think that's important. That's, for me, what I had, that was my next thing, was
Okay,
planning of the facilities to match those goals.
yeah,
That's what I just put down, facilities that match the vision of learning.
right.
And in the involvement of the stakeholders
Mhm,
to
mhm. And I,
plan that.
right, and I think so too. I mean, just your vision, you know, and not just, you have to really kind of even back it a step further, not just that vision for the facilities, but the vision, excuse me, just as a whole. Like, what do we want our climate and culture to be? What steps can we work on to take that? What do we really want our student achievement to look like and our career pathways to look like, right? What do we want our facilities to look like? So, yeah, I think a really strong, someone that can be very, very visionary and help include stakeholder voices in that conversation are gonna be really important. So talk to me a little bit about just your levels of communication. How do you feel like that's going? We're bouncing all over the board, but Annie's gonna put us either in strengths or challenges or qualities and characteristics, kind of wherever we need to go.
Characteristics.
That's it. Yeah. So tell me about communication. Tell me how you think that's going from all directions, okay? From, I kind of say central office, and that to me just means the superintendent and the staff around that central office piece. You know, they've got responsibilities to communicate with you as a board, responsibilities to communicate with the public at large, to the administrators. You know, how do they know that information is going from the administrators to the teachers? Just tell me what your thoughts are about where you all are in that.
A positive improvement I think that we've achieved, and it feels like more since this year or so on the board, but maybe it was longer than that. But I love that now we're doing the board reports and the meeting summaries for kind of the public and putting that on the website and emailing it out in social media after our board meetings. So I think that's more.
The board is working on that?
No, the district.
The district.
Yeah, our
Okay.
admin team, our communication team had
Okay.
started packaging what we get to see, you know, and
Okay.
hear about in the meetings in a more user-friendly way for the community.
Okay.
And I don't know how long that's been in place, that paw print packet, but it seems like it keeps improving and getting out faster and getting to the community and
Do you
more.
mind if I ask over here?
Go for it.
Who's doing that? That would be you. What are your thoughts on how that's going, Riley?
I really like doing that. I obviously get a lot of input from all of our teams and all of our directors in order to put all that information together. But
Right.
I think that it helps us tell a very positive story about what's really happening in the district.
Okay.
Because I feel like we all kind of, as a parent, you know, you pick just the activities that your
Sure.
students in, but this paints a picture of like, okay, as a whole, this is how our district is moving forward each month. It is definitely a work of love, so it's a lot, but
I know that is. And you do that each month after
Yes.
each board meeting, and how long have you been doing that?
so we started it this school year.
So
the
August,
first,
September?
actually, it was last school year, it was last spring that
Okay.
we started it, so we've been doing this for about a year.
Okay, and that makes sense with what I was
Okay.
thinking. And the speed at which you get it distributed is getting faster and faster. Yeah.
That's a lot of work. I mean,
Because
there's no
now
question
you're,
about that.
yeah, beaten before I can even
That
look.
might be an assemble pitch.
I'm thinking so too.
I've already been here about assemble, but that was when Summer was here.
Yeah.
Summer's not a committee.
Electronic managing of the meetings might be really
But it has
helpful
to be
for
the
that,
minutes
too.
clerk idea, because I did not go against the minutes clerk. That's the queen bee when it comes to it. If she doesn't like it, it's.
So Summer and I actually work together on that.
That's great.
So she and I share a Google Doc during meetings,
Right.
and she puts her notes in, and so that
Right.
way, and then I kind of make it where it's a little bit more
Uh-huh.
chewable for our
Sure.
public,
Sure,
just because some of the language gets a little technical.
certainly.
And then, so we work together on
Yeah.
that. And then when Sonia is here, we work together on it as well. So,
That's really great. And what's the name of that publication?
it's called the Piedmont Focus.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can see that definitely being a big strength and improvements happening in communication. What else? What else are you hearing? Room for growth?
Room for growth, just since I said that one. I feel a little bit in the dark about things that are upcoming
Okay.
that maybe the admin team does know is going on.
Does or does not?
Does, like
Okay.
they're discussing it and, but it
Right.
shows up not till the agenda or
Okay.
something like that. So
Okay.
for me, I think just having maybe the agenda type of discussion sooner in the month rather than like things happening right before. Like it's not
Okay.
a monthly thing where we just talk once a month, a more collaborative process
Okay.
of communicating about what we need to work on in the board meeting this month.
Okay.
And that could look a lot of different ways, because
Certainly.
obviously we can't all collaborate,
right,
but,
right.
just a more collaborative communication during the month towards
What
what we
that-
need to focus on that
during that
month.
board
Yeah,
meeting.
that board
Okay.
meeting, or,
Just kind of
Um,
as a sidebar, some districts and superintendents handle it differently, but it's a matter of, the 2 weeks before the meeting, if the agenda's mostly ready, however you want to meet, 10 minutes for coffee or a 10-minute phone call or, whatever that is with each of you to kind of go over some of
Yeah.
those things. So that's something else to kind of think about too.
yeah, and each board member may have a different
Sure.
experience,
Sure.
with,
Yeah, that
with the
definitely
team
helps.
that's,
So Annie,
But-
maybe for one of the characteristics, just put, agenda planning and conversation from the soup to the board. Okay, good. Good question, good comments. Anything else? Any other areas?
I would love, and this is just me personally with
Mhm.
the new superintendent, would just love to have that ongoing monthly discussion just planned where I have a safe space to bring up concerns
Mhm.
instead of just having to
Right.
email, some things are time sensitive, some things are not
Sure.
as time sensitive.
Okay.
And just an open discussion like this is not a fault to you, but this is just some questions I've gotten.
Okay.
And I think just having that regular communication plan just
Okay.
between myself and that person will
Okay.
definitely make things less tense when there are questions, because we
Sure.
just have that open line
Yep.
always up instead of feeling like I'm questioning somebody,
Right.
because I'm
Right.
not, I just have questions.
Right.
I agree with that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, just to be able to ask those legitimate, and sometimes they are innocent questions.
yeah,
Just so that you can have the information that you need to feel like you can make good decisions and understand what's going on.
yeah, I try to guide the parents
Okay.
up the chain of, command if possible, but sometimes they just feel more comfortable coming, straight to the board with certain
Okay.
things and just,
Okay.
just open.
Sure, I
That's part of your
Understanding.
position. I
Yeah.
mean, you are that key to the school district. I mean, you're the public entity. You're the one that was elected, so.
Chain of command is really important. Would you feel like that's something that is a growth area all the way across the district in regard to if you have a complaint or you have a concern or you have a something, are you working through the right channels to get that resolved, or are you jumping all the way to the
I think the
top?
chain of command is an area that can be improved on.
Okay, okay. And some of that might be education, perhaps?
I think the other side from some of the feedback I've gotten is we educate on how that looks, and then we need to make sure that the response back
Right.
is received timely
Right.
and appropriate, so they feel like that
Okay.
chain worked.
Okay.
Right.
From both sides, not they did their part and then we didn't do
Gotcha.
our part
Gotcha.
back to timely respond or
Okay.
to take it seriously.
So perhaps really just have some conversations about what that needs to look like and maybe reestablish a process and some expectations for
I would
what
love
that
some
looks like.
communication expectations back towards
Okay.
stakeholders and parents, just so I know
Okay.
what I should anticipate when I'm helping coach them up,
Okay,
you know.
okay. Good. Anything else?
I would say the chain of command inside the district as well too, not just with the community, like within
Okay.
staff
Okay.
is an area for improvement.
As a chain of command within staff.
Mhm.
Let
And
them
is
know
that-
the levels,
Okay.
and then, like, let the building principal handle it, and if it needs to go to the next step,
Okay.
then it just goes up that chain of command.
Okay. And sometimes do you feel like that's lost a little bit and just, again, lack of communication or perhaps lack of trust in things being done if they pass it forward? That it's gonna be done the way that it needs to be, or that they understand what needs to be done?
I think we need somebody that is going to be open to letting those building principals handle it and do their job and step in when need be.
Okay, okay. So autonomy, we're going for autonomy, qualities and characteristics. And that takes a lot of confidence.
Mhm.
So a superintendent needs to be confident
Right.
to allow the autonomy of the building principals. And I might add a little something on there, like completely the building principal's autonomy or autonomy within the scope of the direction of the vision that the district's going.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and I don't want to simplify this by any means, but I just think that, you know, you've got parameters to work in.
Mhm.
And then if you're working in those parameters, everything's fine. Once you get outside that fence, so to speak, you know, somebody has to have the, obviously the ability and the confidence to rein them
Mhm.
in a manner where it's, you know, they know they weren't screwing up on purpose.
Right.
Versus, you know, and handle those situations differently. I think the autonomy is a big piece.
Okay.
And just the crystal clear expectations on, you know, what are, if I'm the building principal, you know, what is my
What is my role? What
what
are
is
my
role?
responsibilities?
Yeah, and.
Yeah, when is it appropriate for me to
Mhm.
pick up the red phone,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
I
Okay.
think as a piece of communication, just a culture shift that we have the safe space in our staff and teams to communicate issues, you know, desires, goals, like, and we can, you know, work towards the vision that we've set for the district
Okay.
and, you know, and it's completely okay to have a discussion about
Right.
whether we think we're going astray or not, no matter what level we're
Right.
talking, just a culture of, like, it's okay to
It's okay.
it's okay
to have difficult
to have
conversations.
difficult conversations, and we're gonna be fine, and we're
Right.
gonna
Right.
work towards the vision, and, you know, and just feeling like you can talk to your
Right.
assistant principal, superintendent, and
Okay.
just, you know.
Okay.
we
And that's
have a
why
safe
I had some,
culture.
you know, to rebuild the culture
Mhm.
here, you know,
Okay.
because it needs to be rebuilt.
Okay.
Trust
So-
all the way from the
Trust.
teachers, staff, all the way up.
Okay.
Community.
Strong relationship building,
Mm-hmm.
learning, and creating a space where you can disagree agreeably.
Right.
Okay?
And having that vision will ultimately, we're
Right.
always striving to,
So
whatever the
develop
disagreement is, we're
a shared
pushing
vision.
towards the shared
Okay.
vision that we as a, you know, can
Yep.
all.
Do you all feel like you're focused as much on student learning as you should be, or do you feel like you've got lots of other noise kind of in the way?
I don't feel like there's a ton of academic focus from my seat, like just as a parent. I mean, I see a lot of sports and politics and who are we hiring and who are we not hiring, like from a board side, instead of like, what goal are we achieving through all these decisions? I feel like there's a lack of like the final
Okay.
goal, at least in discussions. That doesn't mean our teams aren't
Doing
doing
that.
that, but I'm
But
not
you're not
in
as much aware of
seeing
it.
it or aware of it
Okay.
or focused on it, like.
Okay.
I think our teachers are doing an outstanding job. Just to touch base on that, I think that, you know, just like a lot of districts, the classroom overcrowding is playing a part in that.
Mhm.
You know, because I know in the elementary school that my second grader goes to, you know, they're always moving kids around. When the teacher's absent, you're talking about 24 kids in a class, and then next day it's 31 kids in a class. And so it's,
Yeah.
it strains our staff, and I
Sure.
think that could have an impact on
Oh,
the.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially the lack of subs,
Mhm.
I mean, it just,
Yeah.
it's.
It's hard. It's heavy. It's
Yep.
heavy. I mean, we're asking more than we've ever asked before with less resources than we have to provide, and
Yeah.
that's a
And-
very difficult thing.
And we need somebody that'll be open to listening to those teachers and their concerns about that.
Okay.
Because I know I had several reach out over the course of this year about the moving, shifting kids around when teachers are absent, and it felt like it went on deaf ears.
Okay.
And so we need somebody to listen to those teachers and, you know, work with them,
Develop
build
some
that
solutions.
relationship, and
Yeah.
develop a solution rather than just saying, it's how it is.
And I think also, when you look at the, I mean, I'm not gonna make a blanket statement about every department. I'm just gonna use the two for an example that I jump out to me. Our special ed department absolutely needs, has good leadership. They need more support than ever with that, within their department, because you can't find paraprofessionals. You can't find bus drivers, so transportation, you look at special ed, those are, like, coming up with ideas that aren't traditional ideas to solve those. I know every business out there has staffing problems. It doesn't matter if it's a school district, or if it's a police department, or what it is, there are staffing problems everywhere. One of the things, and I'll put a little burden on our community, or a little, I don't want to use the word blame, on the community. When the school spends more money, I think paying paraprofessionals, paying bus drivers more money is something that we need to talk about as a school district. And somebody that comes to our table as a superintendent, he or she needs to be able to step up here and have the guts to say, you know what, we're gonna pay more than any school district around here for paraprofessionals, or pay more for bus drivers. Not at the expense of somebody else, but because if we want those areas to be,
Staffed.
to be staffed and safe, then we need to look at some, it's good, you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over, it's not working.
Right, yeah.
And just to basically, come up with some new ideas, and a lot of times it is money, I mean, it's just, I don't want to say
Yeah.
you just throw money at it and it gets better.
But in
But-
some situations it is. I mean, when you've got, I was just school district last week. Well, after I met with you all on Tuesday, I remember I was going back to the other school district, and some of these are the same conversations, and support staff came up. And one of the support staff people was there, and she said, I'm really trying to decide if I'm gonna take the job at McDonald's, because they pay more per
Right.
hour than I make here
If
at
they're
the
not
school.
here for health
Well-
insurance, they're not
Right?
staying.
I mean,
That's really
oh
the
my
biggest-
gosh. So, I mean, what do you do? I
One
mean,
thing
how do you solve that?
We could do in Piedmont 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, you could say, well, we're gonna pay what Deer Creek pays or Yukon because people wanna come to Piedmont. That doesn't work anymore. Piedmont, or whatever is the best thing around, no matter what it is, that's not going to be what,
Right,
that, you can use that name for so
It's
long.
not sustainable.
right,
And then,
right.
at some point, that's just,
Yeah.
and that's where, I think that's where we are right now.
Okay.
So,
Good. This has been a really great conversation. We just have a couple more minutes before we finish up, and then we're gonna reset for the admin. I'm hoping I'm not stressing Riley out there.
Okay.
She's like, we can do it, we can do it. So anything else you all had kind of rolling around in your head? Just about the direction that Piedmont is going, what your hopes and dreams are, that we can capture, and,
You want me to say what I already have so far?
We definitely need somebody that understands growth. because
Absolutely, that's
Okay.
what.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
behind the eight ball in building growth. I
Okay.
mean,
Our elementary schools are
we're
packed.
getting ready to be
okay?
completely overrun with
yeah.
students in our buildings.
What year was that Yukon built their high school? In the late 90s, early 2000s?
No, that's their new high school?
Their-
It
That was
was-
just a couple years ago.
No, their new high school.
Their new high school was
2012, okay.
Yeah.
When they opened and they were already full.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we
and
had
Stephen's point,
Yeah.
that's
I
where.
actually did that search that year, and they had just finished
I was
it,
teaching there when it
and were
opened.
concerned about what their enrollment
I
looked
should have
like.
known we had it.
Yeah,
I
it's
j-
crazy.
I just know that just at Stone Ridge's neighborhood, there's at
Yeah.
least three new neighborhoods being
Okay,
built right now.
so growth is a thing.
And
Yeah.
we're already
Big
at
time.
capacity at Stone Ridge.
So are you keeping them, are you keeping your enrollment steady? Are you graduating the same number?
No,
Or is it
They're-
less or
my-
increasing?
the numbers that just keep
My-
going up.
So you're not just getting you're not just getting new kids at elementary and filling them up, you're getting elementary, middle, high.
My first
So
year
those
as
numbers are
principal,
staying high.
we graduated
Okay.
167 kids, and my daughter's a seventh grader. Seventh grade class has three something?
Oh
Does that
my,
sound right? Pushing four?
triple, almost quadrupled, okay.
I know that
We have
Stone
some four
Ridge,
classes, right? We have some 400 classes?
Sixth grade and ninth grade. high
Sixth
school.
grade, 400 kids.
I know that Stone Ridge is out of classrooms right
And-
now.
and-
And without those three neighborhoods even starting to build yet.
Yeah,
And we have how many new neighborhoods popping up?
A lot.
So
Um,
with the growth, obviously they need to have the financial background and the knowledge of the
Bond
bonding,
issues
but
and-
they really need to be, and that, for me, this is the most important factor, is a uniter.
Correct.
Somebody who can bring together, what's at least somewhat divided, somebody who everyone can look to with this vision that we established as a board and a district with our new leader,
Yep.
and we are working together, because in order to get the bonds approved, we need the community
Absolutely.
involvement, and we need everybody, you know,
Right.
bought in on
Right.
this vision for us, because
Right.
obviously just complaining about the neighborhoods doesn't work.
Correct.
Just asking the
It won't
school,
be built, no matter
asking
what.
the
Long, very
school board
long
to
term
say
plan.
no more neighborhoods, like,
It doesn't work like that.
it doesn't work.
Right.
So we need somebody who can, you know, be the visionary for the growth and unite us to follow, you
Okay.
know.
And is not afraid of hearing other people's opinions,
Okay,
you
Well,
know,
and-
at least being open to them.
open-minded.
And
Okay.
to foresee that and to implement that thought process in the
Right.
growth, because,
Okay.
I mean, and
So it just kind of needs to become your mantra, right? Like, these
Yes.
are the decisions we're making today
Right.
because, bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, I
This
think
is what's
that
gonna be happening next.
the role of this moving forward, I just envision somebody that's gonna have to get out there in the community,
Mhm.
meet with city council members, meet with home builders,
Mhm.
meet with, yeah, to make sure our infrastructure is what it is.
Correct.
And to take the input of, you know, everything that we talked about from an
Mhm.
academic standpoint, put all that to a
Okay.
building.
And,
Okay.
and like Steven said, we're behind the 8 ball, and I think we need somebody that can come in and not with a 5-year plan, but with a 10-year plan and see the growth and see,
Yeah,
you know,
really long term.
how many people are moving out here.
That,
And-
that needs to start on day one.
Right, and not
Right.
build a facility when we open it like UConn did, we're already
That
at
you're just
capacity.
already at capacity.
We need a
Yeah.
10-year plus plan
Yeah.
for the district.
I think I think you're on board, absolutely. Any other final thoughts? Anything else?
I don't think so.
So we are really just super happy at OSSBA to be supporting you guys through this process. And a lot of the things you've talked about will be other, you know, additional things that we can help support you. So we're really hoping that this is a start of a good relationship that we can really, as an association, just help you meet your needs and help you grow to meet the potential that I think all of us see here in Piedmont.
And I do want to say, I mean, because this is really the only forum we have to publicly comment about this entire process, and we appreciate the assistance you all are giving us as well. And I just want to make, you know, reemphasize to you all have done an outstanding job of letting us know, at least for me, to know that this is our process.
Correct.
This is our process, and you are merely helping us package this process in a timetable that if it works to June 30th, then great, but if not, they'll allow us to continue on until we find the right person. And it also makes me personally feel like that you aren't saying, here's who you need.
Oh,
You're,
no.
you're,
Correct.
you're telling us, here's what you're hearing from us. Here's
Right,
what,
right.
and you're gonna hear from what our staff wants. You're gonna hear from what our community wants. And we appreciate that. And I at least can speak for me that I feel like this is our choice. And
Very good.
I feel very confident about where we're going moving forward. So
I agree.
Very
I agree
good.
with that.
Good, that is our goal, right, Annie Beck? I mean, we really,
Therapist, yeah.
that's it, we just, yeah, we see ourselves at the facility of processes, we're very process-oriented, and yeah, so we're happy to do that for you, so we appreciate that.
great.
Okay, so I think we're gonna wind up, Riley, and then we're gonna bust it in and get the tables moved. Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Move to item 3, adjournment. For a motion.
To adjourn.
Second?
Okay, got a motion by Derek and a second by Stephen. Can we get a vote?
Derek?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Steven, yes. Lane?
Yes. All right, the time is 1 PM. We're adjourned.